Good morning and welcome to my kitchen. It is time to cook. Now today's ingredient I want to share with you is rhubarb. And this isn't just any old rhubarb, this is Yorkshire's finest from the rhubarb triangle, and it is forced rhubarb. I've got two incredible recipes for you. You're going to love them. Okay, first recipe, we're going to make a beautiful Bakewell pudding with rhubarb and Oregon hazelnuts. Absolutely delicious. Now, traditionally, a Bakewell, you would think was made in pastry, Bakewell tart, but it's not. Traditionally, it's a pudding. So I thought we would do the whole rhubarb and custard kind of thing, but not quite how you would expect. So the first thing we're going to do, take our rhubarb. Now, I've just picked this up from Booths, my local supermarket. I saw they'd posted that the first season's forced rhubarb is in. So I was like, right, we've got to use a rhubarb. It is absolutely the best stuff. If you can get it, buy it. It's delicious. So we're just going to cut it into about 2 centimetre long pieces. What I don't want it to do is just completely break down just to a liquid. And it does, if you overcook rhubarb, it just goes to mush really, really quick. So there is that sort of fine line, really. Now, I've gone to there. I've kept these bits here to make this wonderful liquid that my wife loves so much. This is rhubarb gin, okay? The cheapest gin I could buy in the supermarkets. And then all you do is you take your rhubarb like this, and then you just cut it long ways. So we expose the surface area as much as possible. And then all you do is you just, obviously I've already done this, you just plonk it in like that and just put it straight in and put as many as you can in.
And is it gone that colour because of the rhubarb?
Yeah, so it kind of bleeds, which is not a particularly nice term, but the rhubarb flavour permeates into there so quick. Rhubarb and gin love each other as a flavour, all right? It just works. Juniper, and rhubarb work, so it's a really good excuse to flavour it up. And what it does is it makes a delicious, not a sweet, sickly, syrupy gin. It makes a dry gin, but flavoured with rhubarb. Really, really nice. Okay, right, let's put those to one side. So, what we're going to do is just grab our rhubarb and just plonk it straight into a tin. Okay, so that's going to be enough for what we want. I've got a little bit of golden caster sugar. Okay. In that goes. And then I've got a couple of satsumas, oranges. Let's just pop the zest in there. Orange and rhubarb, best friends, good flavour combination, yeah? So what I'm trying to do is just create something that's got everything is in harmony flavour-wise, okay? Now, if you want any of today's recipes, make sure you sign up for our newsletter on petersidwell.com. All our recipes will be delivered straight to your inbox while this is broadcasting on a Saturday morning. So if you're watching live with me right now, it's going to your inbox now if you've signed up. If you haven't signed up, get signed up, okay? Get the recipes and get cooking. Right, so that's going to give us our lovely fragrance. And then we're just going to add the juice. So this is going to make a really lovely syrup at the bottom of your pudding, okay? In it goes. Lovely fresh flavours. There we go. Right, I'll just wash my hands. Are you a rhubarb fan, Emily?
I love rhubarb.
I do. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favourite things that when it comes in season.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you can buy rhubarb all year now, but...
It's not the same though, is it? You can tell. It's like strawberries.
Yeah, that's the good stuff now. The winter.
Flavours come in when they're meant to be in.
Yeah. Mother Nature has a way of saying. Right, so we're going to make the sponge now. It's just going to go straight on the top of that. Bake. Everything will be encased, okay? So I've got 250 grams. Now this is a dairy-free recipe and it's also a gluten-free recipe, okay? So I've used a dairy-free butter. Then I've got 250 grams of golden caster sugar. That's going in. And then look what Father Christmas brings chefs for Christmas. Wireless. Look at that, Emily. You gotta love this. Charges up with USB-C. Off we go. Technology. So we're just gonna cream together the sugar and the butter. And then what we're gonna do is gonna add our eggs. And essentially, this is a Victoria sponge recipe, but instead of flour, we're adding a little bit of gluten-free flour and a load of Oregon hazelnuts. So we've been working on a project for the Oregon hazelnuts, creating some amazing recipes. So we thought, let's make another one. Okay, so in with your eggs, room temperature. Really important, add them one at a time. When they're room temperature, they are at their most elastic. And that's kind of what you want them to do. That's why we're adding them to the cake. I think your mother might like this one. It's hitting all the right points. Okay. Right. In with the last egg. Okay. It's all our eggs in. So all we've got to do now is add our hazelnuts, flour, and I've got one secret ingredient. All right. There we go. Okay, so let's talk hazelnuts. So we've got ground hazelnuts. These are from Oregon. If you can't get hazelnuts, use almonds. It's fine. Ground almonds will do the job the same. So I've done 100 grams of gluten-free flour. And then I've done 150 grams of ground Oregon hazelnuts.
Is that plain flour?
No, it's self-raising, just for a little lift. When I've made this before, it's quite rich if you use all almonds, I think. And if you just use a little bit of gluten-free flour, or if gluten-free isn't your bag, just use a bit of self-raising flour, it's fine. And then what I'm going to do is add a little bit of custard powder, because rhubarb loves custard. So a tablespoon of custard powder, and that's going to give us a really lovely kind of vanilla-y flavour to it. And it's gluten-free because it's got corn flour in it rather than wheat flour to thicken. So all I'm going to do is add that in. And then we will just mix this together. So just turn the spoon one way and the bowl the other way, okay? And that'll just incorporate the two. If you haven't got rhubarb, you could use other fruits that you like. Just make sure, you know, if they're apples, they probably need cooking in advance, whereas rhubarb is quite soft, so it will cook all by itself. Now, we've got our rhubarb gin, so we're just going to add a little bit in there, and that'll just, it's optional. It's just going to reinforce the flavour. And then all we're going to do is take this whole sponge and sit it on top of the rhubarb, okay? And it means that the rhubarb will just kind of steam underneath the sponge while it's cooking. So it's important that you completely cover the rhubarb up so you can't see it. There we go. Now, a little tip for you. Always go from the middle and push it out until you hit the sides, yeah? And then just work it out all the way. Just keep working it all the way to the edges. Some of it will sort of seep over, but that'll be okay. That's going to go into the oven 170 degrees. It's probably going to take about 30 to 40 minutes until it's golden and it's firm to the touch, okay? That's how you'll know when the sponge is ready. Right, our rhubarb and Oregon hazelnut frangipane pudding is ready. Look at that. It's baked perfectly. And as I said to you, in terms of checking that it's cooked, just press the top. If it springs back, that means it's fully cooked all the way through. Now, let's get a bit of this for you. So what we've got on the top, the lovely Oregon hazelnut and custard Bakewell, frangipane, yes, thank you, Emma. And then underneath, we've got this beautiful rhubarb cooked. Look, can you, if I show you that way, look, all those lovely little bits of rhubarb, and it is just, oh, it's going to be good. It's going to be really, really good, this. Let me have a little taste. And I can tell you how amazing it'll be. And what you can also do as well is if you're feeling really indulgent, get your rhubarb gin and just Little nips like that. Doesn't need a lot. Oh, Emma would be proud of me for that, wouldn't it? Proud or upset that I've wasted it on her food. And then just tuck in. We like that, Emily. Here you go. Have a go on that. There you go. Now remember, if you want the recipe for this or the other recipe that we're going to be doing, sign up for the newsletter, petersidwell.com. We'll send it straight to your inbox. That is a delicious dessert. You have got to try it. Right, now it's time to make the most amazing recipe using our beautiful Yorkshire rhubarb, but I have got some cracking Cumberland sausage. Now this recipe is the best for Cumberland sausage, in my opinion. Base camp just up the road. So we're based in Keswick. Between Keswick and Penrith is a wonderful new farm shop that's opened up. Emma and Terry, I believe, who run it. It's called Base Camp. They make some incredible Cumberland sausage. So if you're on your way to Keswick or leaving, drop in there and get some Cumberland sausage. It's absolutely delicious. They work really, really hard to produce some amazing food there. We're very lucky it's just up the road. But what we're going to do is we're going to make this Cumberland sausage and we're going to cook it old school way. So I know you're Cumbrian through and through, Emily, aren't you? So I'm sure you have strong opinions on Cumberland sausage, do you? Yeah. Have you got a favourite? As in butcher or... See, I always think the West Cumberland sausage is more peppery.
Yeah, ours has got a little bit like we've got a local butcher in our spa, and ours is a lot more almost spicy. I think as you head out towards like Cockermouth and places like that, it's a little bit more sucking.
We are blessed with some incredible butchers, and they're all very good at making good Cumberland sausage. Now, the way we're going to cook it is one whole Cumberland sausage like that. We're going to take our time on this. Now, if you haven't got the time, then I would suggest getting the Cumberland sausage and cooking them individually. But I wanted to cook this family style. I've got time, and I'm going to cook it whole like this in a big pan and just let it cook nice and slow. Then we're going to whack it into the oven and let it crisp up. And while that's happening, we're going to make the most incredible sauce. So in Cumbria, I don't know about you, apple sauce with Cumberland sausage, that's a normal thing, isn't it? We're going to add rhubarb to it, which is going to make it even more delicious, okay? So, got my knife, got my apples, got my sausage. So I'm just going to let this cook for about 5 minutes on there. We're going to flip it over and then I'm going to whack it in the oven. While we're doing that, let's get our apples done. So we're going to make the sauce. The good thing about this is you could make apple and rhubarb sauce, maybe put some into a crumble and serve the rest with your sausage. You could have dessert and main course sorted in one hit. So we're going to take our apples. The apples will need cooking first because they take longer to cook down than the rhubarb. So not only are we going to serve it with a beautiful rhubarb and apple sauce, I am going to show you how to make the most incredible mashed potato, the best I can make. And I have a little piece of equipment to show you just how to make it even better. But I'll get to that in a minute.
You nearly got it off as a whole.
I know. I was hoping you wouldn't notice. Drives me mad when I don't do that. I'm going to have to get this one now. All the way. Turn the apple, not the peeler. That's my secret. I remember I got a hat-trick once on this show. All 3 apples, all done. The pressure is mounting. You could use cooking apples, Bramleys if you wanted to, or you can use something, another apple. I think these are Braeburns, these ones. So they're a little bit sharp, but not too much. Right, let's get rid of that. Pip's not feeling very well today, so she doesn't even want the apple skin. Bless her. Right. So let's core these. Get these. Sorry?
What else goes with rhubarb? Like if you were making savoury dishes?
Like, I've done a sausage tray bake with rhubarb and onions. In fact, we did a toad in the hole once, didn't we?
We did. With
roasted onions and rhubarb, and that was really good. Not many things go with rhubarb on savoury. Okay. I mean, any pork will go well with rhubarb because pork's kind of rich, so the acidity works really well and it kind of cuts through. So like if you were doing roasted belly pork or leg of pork for, you know, a Sunday roast or something like that, a little bit of rhubarb in your apple sauce, lovely. I mean, I grew up, we always had apple sauce with roast pork.
Yeah.
That was just what we did. And we had rhubarb crumbles and things like that. Rhubarb and custard is my favourite. I absolutely love it. I love a good rhubarb and custard. And I love the sweets. Do you remember the sweets?
Oh, yeah.
Where you got half red, half yellow, rhubarb and custards.
And they were like, yeah, they had their own flavour, didn't they? Like,
Showing my age now, I used to go to the corner shop. We used to call it the Top Shop, where I lived and grew up. And we'd get a quarter of rhubarb and custard. Do you know what a quarter is?
what? No, I don't.
Quarter of a pound. So what would that be?
25 pence.
Oh, about 10 pence in them days. But in terms of weight, a quarter would have been, what would a quarter have been?
Oh, quarter of a pound.
125 grams of sweets, and they just pour them into a paper bag.
10 pence to do.
Probably, yeah. But penny sweets were a penny in my day.
They used to do 10 pence mixtures and you don't get them these days.
Things have changed. Right, let's just have a look at the sausage. Right, that's going to turn in a minute, okay? So, which is easier said than done. So let's get that turned, I think. So I'm going to get under it. There you go, look. Nice colour on there. I'm going to whack this in the oven now because we want to get our apple sauce made. So that's probably going to take about 20 minutes in the oven till it fully cooks through. I cannot emphasise enough, if you're going to cook it like that, full size, full sausage curl, low and slow. Don't speed it up because it's all wound up. It needs that time to get the temperature through and cooked. But it is quite impressive when you put that down the table. Instead of just a tray of sausages, you've got this massive big wheel. It is nicer. Right, so onto our sauce. So this is the best thing to serve with Cumberland sausage. It really, really is. So we get our pan on and let's just cut our apples up. Now, we were talking about flavour combinations, weren't we?
Yeah.
Obviously, with savoury, I think pork is really, really nice. I've actually made mackerel with rhubarb. So, like in the summer, where mackerel in the UK is in season, you can kind of like pickle almost your rhubarb a little bit. So you've got that acidity that just kind of cuts through nicely. So, yeah, I've done that before. But then in terms of sweet, rhubarb loves orange, it loves ginger, it loves custard because it's kind of contrasting. You know, it works well with apple. It works well with gin, which we talked about earlier. You know, rhubarb and gin work together because it's juniper. Juniper is the flavour that really, really works. So a good gin and tonic with a bit of rhubarb in. Lovely. Lovely. And then, yeah, like orange, marmalades, ginger, those sort of flavours all work really, really well. So, apple and rhubarb work really well together. And what it means is we're going to get that kind of sweetness and texture from the apple, but we're going to get the acidity from the rhubarb, which is going to work really well with our Cumberland sausage. So if Emma from Base Camp is watching, I want to see rhubarb on with your Cumberland sausage in the cafe. And I'm coming to test it. Right. So in with our apple, I've got my cast aluminium pan here, the 4-litre shallow. In with a little bit of sugar. Not loads, because we don't want it really, really sweet. We want it fruity, okay? And I don't want colour. So I'm going to add a little bit of my rhubarb gin to it as well. Because why not? Seems like a good idea, doesn't it? Add gin where possible, as Mrs. Sidwell would say. Right. So what we're going to do is just get that cooking down. Apples will always take longer to cook than the rhubarb, okay? Now, if you want the recipe for today's, any of today's recipes, sign up to the newsletter. If you go to petersidwell.com, sign up for it, and we will send you every week our recipes automatically to your inbox. So we've tried to make it really, really easy for everyone. So 1 centimetre slices on the rhubarb, and you'll notice this rhubarb is super thin. because it is forced rhubarb. So it's the first rhubarb of the season. And before we were filming this, I was just chatting to Emily about forced rhubarb. So what they do is they grow it in massive barns with one single source of light. And I assume it used to be candlelight, but I'm sure it's not anymore. And the rhubarb just naturally grows towards the light, which makes it very thin and tender and tasty. All right. So rhubarb in the UK in January and early Feb is forced, and when it's nicest. They actually call it champagne rhubarb. That's probably a marketing ploy to make it more expensive. But yeah, it's really thin and delicate and lovely. And any trimmings, make sure you use them, maybe to flavour some gin or something like that. I think you can get rhubarb wine as well. I've seen that, and rhubarb cordials and things like that you can make. So in with our rhubarb. So the apples had a couple of minutes head start. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put the lid on this. Now with these pans, see those little dimples there? That means all that steam that's evaporating will hit the top of this and condense back down. So it won't caramelise if you put the lid on, and it won't boil dry. So really good for that. Got that on a medium heat, and I'm just going to let that cook until the apples break. Okay, and then it can become applesauce. Right. Now I'm going to share with you the secret on how to make the most perfect mashed potato to go with your Cumberland sausage. Now, this little tool here makes the most amazing jacket potatoes. You like a jacket potato?
I do.
I do. So what it does, let me take them off and I'll explain. So this little device, I bought it from cookserveandenjoy.com. It basically, you put your potatoes on these metal spikes, and the spikes get really hot in the oven, which means the center of the potato is cooking from the middle out as well as from the out into the middle. So your potatoes actually cook quicker. So it's a bit of a money-saving device, but more importantly, it makes amazing jacket spuds. So I was taught to make the best mashed potato, you have to bake your potatoes, because then you're not diluting the flavour in water. You're not overhydrating the potato. So all we're going to do is remove the skin, okay? Because then we've got this delicious, fluffy potato, yeah? So all we do then is we just cut them open. So cut them open like that, yeah? And that will let the steam out. This little device. So basically, what I'm telling you, for the best mashed potato in the world ever, you need one of these and you need one of these, all right? Go to Cook, Serve and Enjoy and get them. So this is a potato ricer from Sheffin, and you can get this from cookserveandenjoy.com as well. No problem. And it makes the best mash, okay? So let me just move that to one side. Do you have one of these, Emily?
I do.
Do you?
My dad enjoys using it. We do get good mash.
Makes the best mash. Absolute lump-free, 100% guarantee. So all I'm going to do is just peel the potato from the skin. All right? And don't worry if you miss a bit, because it won't go through it. All right? So that goes in there. So there's half a potato. Put that in, and then straight in like that. And then just use your knife and just keep going until you've done all the potatoes, and then it's time for butter. So we'll just get the last bit of mash in, but you see how it just pushes through, and any bits of skin or anything like that, it just catches them, and you just end up with the most incredible mash, and you just know it's lump-free, okay? I do love mash. Something very comforting about mashed potato, isn't there? Right, white pepper, ground white pepper. Otherwise you end up with big black bits if you use that, and then a little bit of salt.
Does white pepper taste different?
Yeah, it's quite... If you have a sniff of that...
I'm going to sneeze.
Take a really big, deep...
Oh.
It makes you sneeze. White pepper makes you sneeze. Little bit of salt. Don't know what it is about white pepper. It's really... Gets right up your nose, doesn't it? It takes me back to childhood, white pepper, because that's kind of all we had. Right, and then butter. 125 grams of butter. You need a decent amount of butter. 4 potatoes and that much mash. And I am being...
Butter, please.
Eh?
That much butter.
Yes. And if you don't want to miss any bits. So when I was first taught to make mashed potato by a certain French chef, half equal amounts of butter to potato is what his rule was. We're not going that far today.
God.
But in with your butter. And then use a spoon. We don't need a masher because we've now got perfect mash. Okay? Haven't we, Pip?
To yours.
No, no milk, just butter. Butter and seasoning, that's it. How do you feel about that, Emily? Right, let me just mix this. You could use margarine if you wanted, but it's not the same. It's just not the same. And I would add some cheese and some mustard to this to make it absolutely... Oh, cheesy mash is amazing. But look, that now is the most incredible mashed potato. That's good. That could take some more butter, in my opinion.
Go on, add it in.
No, I haven't got any more. I haven't got any more. That's it. That's all the mash we can go. Right. Let's have a little look at... You ready for this? Yeah. All the condensation there. Look. It all stays in. What we're going to do with this is what we're going to mash. So we're going to mash our rhubarb and our apple together. See? Like that. In the pan. And that just sort of brings the apple, brings the rhubarb all together. Okay? Feel like we're almost ready, Emily.
Mm.
So we're going to have a little taste of the apple and rhubarb just to make sure it's not too sweet, not too tart. And then we'll just leave the lid off just to get rid of some of that residual liquid. Oh, do you want to try that? Oh, it's good. Careful, it's hot. Just imagine that with a peppery Cumberland sausage, buttery mash and gravy.
Ooh.
Nice? Right, let's have a look at our Cumberland sausage. Right, here is our Cumberland sausage. Honestly, go to your butcher's, buy a full curl and do it like this. Serve it up with the most delicious buttery mashed potato and then our amazing rhubarb and apple sauce. Sunday dinner sorted. Okay? Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've really enjoyed the episode. I hope you now want to go out and buy some rhubarb and make these recipes. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter so you can get the recipes, and I'll see you in my kitchen next week.